We're off last week. We are back this week. It is Our Town here on 94.9 and 99.1 The River. My name is Darren Swenson. Our Town, as always, brought to you by Decorah Bank and Trust. We have a four-guest program on the show for today. Guest number one, well, let's actually take it in backwards order. Guest number four will be Decorah City Manager Travis Goedken. Guest number three will be Waukon City Manager Gary Boden. Guest number two will be Brian Huinker with Group Benefit Partners in Decorah. As many of you know, the emergency declaration in the state of Iowa related to COVID-19 was allowed to be expired by Governor Reynolds last week. That can cause some changes in Medicare or Hawkeye insurance, and Brian will take us through those changes as well. But our first guest this morning, coming up in a little less than a month, it will be the Mentoring Bowl-a-thon from Helping Services for Youth and Family. And here to tell us all about it will be Kathy Schwartzhoff. She will kick off the Our Town program this morning on 94.9 and 99.1 The River. Coming up next month, it's the Helping Services for Youth and Families Mentoring Bowl-a-thon. It's going to take place on March 19th, and they need bowlers right now. And here to make the request for bowlers is Kathy Schwartzhoff from Helping Services for Youth and Family. Kathy, tell us about the bowl-a-thon coming up next month, first of all.
Well, it will be at Skyline Lanes here in Decorah. We're very excited to be back there after going to Waukon for several years. And of course, last year we didn't have the bowl-a-thon because of the pandemic. So we're really, really excited to get bowlers, and bowlers can be anybody. Coworkers can get together, a group of friends, family, anyone that enjoys bowling. And it's not about the score. It's about having fun, and really it's about raising money for youth mentoring. Folks can ask their friends to give them a couple bucks, or they can just make a donation. We do ask that bowlers either collect or raise funds of at least $25. And all the information is at mentoring or at helpingservices.org YM-Bowl. And just go put that into your web browser, and you'll get right to all the information about how to register and who our great sponsors are. And I do need to talk about them here for a minute. We sent out a letter to folks saying, hey, the bowl-a-thon's on, and got almost $4,000 raised from folks responding to that. And so if I can just take a minute to share, we've got three $500 sponsors. Those are Family Table, State Farm, and that's Paul Hudson and Mabes. And then we've got 9 $300 sponsors, and those are Randy's CarQuest Auto Parts, Gunderson Health System, Kelly Real Estate, Harmon Realty, Thrivent, with Tri-Rivers being the Thrivent folks with Jeff Olinger, Winneshiek Medical Center, Ziegler, Marine Credit Union, and Decorah Bank and Trust, and Cresco Bank and Trust. And then we've had folks give us money between the range of $100 to $250. And those sponsors are Burke Real Estate, CS Bank, Decorah Lions, Sherry Lane, Current Brothers Savings Bank, Perry Novak Electric, David and Julie Olson, Reichsview Farms, Waukon State Bank, and Viking State Bank. So those are our wonderful and generous sponsors, and we're really pleased to share their wonderful help. And many of those sponsors have given to us each year that we've done the bowling.
And I'd imagine it's an exciting thing for everybody involved with the mentoring program to get that much support just by one little press release and one little letter, right?
That's exactly right. And it's really folks that are coming together saying, we support youth having that positive role model in their life, and we want to be part of it. But another way to be part of it is to be a bowler. And so that's what we're really looking for. And you go on that YM Bowl and you can get all your information. If you've got a group together, teams consist of 4 people. And we kind of limit that because of time. And you get to select the time that you want to bowl. The choices are 10 a.m., noon, and 2 p.m. And when you get on our website, you can see there's a spot to do that. And everybody needs to get involved because it's going to be a fun time.
And what is the date of the bowl-a-thon once again?
That's Saturday, March 19th here in Decorah at Skyline Lanes. And we'd love to have everybody come and be part of the day. And we really want, people do have to register ahead of time because there's a lot of things to coordinate. And we want to make sure that you're on a team and you get to have a good time.
And is there a registration deadline? Is there a date that you would like to see people signed up by?
Yes, we'd love to have people register by March 11th. Okay. That's our goal. But if somebody that last week decides that they want to do it, they can still contact us and we'll do our best to get them on a team.
And just give us a general overview of the mentoring program through Helping Services for Youth and Families and the positive it does not only for young people, but for adults as well as creating these relationships.
That's right. Mentors spend a minimum of 4 hours a month with their youth doing things that they both enjoy. And we do have the community base, which is kind of the way that we've been doing it for many, many years, that people get together and spend time with their youth out in the community. We also, in some of our schools, have school-based, where the mentor goes right to the school 1 hour a week. And one of our mentors today was like, no school, I can't do my mentoring time, doggone it, because she enjoys spending time with her youth. But when school's not in session, you kind of get a bonus day to do something else with your time that day.
And anyone that would like to be a mentor or get involved in the program, what do they do?
They can go still to that YM Bowl and find out more information, and we'll get you coordinated and ready to go. There's an interview process. There's a application that you have to do and a training that will help you get all started and support all along the way.
All right, give us one final rundown of the mentoring bowl-a-thon information, how to sign up, when's it going to be, and how you can help out this great program.
Yep, March 19th, that's a Saturday here in Decorah, is when the bowl-a-thon is. Getting involved, just put in YM Bowl into your search bar and you should be able to find us. And if not, contact Helping Services. Give us a call, 563-387-1720. We'd love to have as many people come and have a good time and help support youth mentoring.
Kathy, we appreciate you taking some time, and we thank you for your efforts and everybody at Helping Services for Youth and Families for what they do for our community. We wish good luck with the event, and as always, appreciate your time.
Well, we enjoy talking about what we do, and we really enjoy your listeners hearing about what's going on and getting folks involved. So thank you so much, Darren.
The Helping Services Mentoring Bowl-a-thon, March 19th at Skyline Lanes in Decorah. We thank Kathy Schwartzhoff from Helping Services for Youth and Family. Well, there's some health insurance news in the news this week. And when there's health insurance news, we talk to our guy, Mr. Brian Huinker with Group Benefit Partners in Decorah. And Brian, as most people know, the COVID-19 emergency declaration by Governor Reynolds in the state of Iowa ended last week, and that has an effect on some folks when it comes to health insurance. Explain what's going on there.
Yeah, absolutely. So when the declaration ended, basically a lot of folks had been, their kids maybe were on Hawkeye, other state programs, maybe they were on the state Medicaid program themselves. They halted a lot of the income verification and things for that program during COVID-19. So So this month, there's going to be a lot of people that get letters in the mail that potentially they make too much money to still qualify for state Medicaid. In some cases, children aged out and they're going to need to find their own plan. So it's going to be a situation, it's a good thing that it's ended. This is fair to the taxpayer. But with all that said, that's just going to mean some people are going to have to make fairly quick decisions on their next steps for health insurance.
And what should those decisions be at this time? What options are out there for folks that are in this situation? I know everybody's situation is a little bit different, but what are some options for people dealing with this?
Yeah, good question, Darren. Basically, this would be a qualifying event for folks to go out to the exchange, the individual marketplace, and buy health insurance. Most folks in Iowa are going to be able to qualify for a plan under $50, and most actually would, if they wanted a high deductible, could get it for free. So we're not talking about a tremendous financial impact for most. It's more logistical. Kind of our biggest message is to make sure folks have insurance. There's a stereotype out there that, maybe they looked at it before, or when they looked at it themselves, it was too expensive, or they didn't put it into the calculator right. I guess our fear is that people will automatically think it's not expensive and just go without.
And related to folks that were on Medicaid or Hawkeye, transitioning from that into a private plan, how big of a transition is that? How big of a logistical headache is that, or is it one at all?
It's a little bit of a headache. It's different. They're going to now have a deductible and out of pocket co-pays and things. So it'll be more of a traditional plan. And in many cases, they're actually going to have more options provider wise. So there's some positives too. Our other kind of point or get the word out is that we think a lot of people might just automatically add their kids on to their policy at work, where there may be better options out there, than having a few $100 taken out of their paycheck to add a child or move from single to employee, child, or family.
I know you said a lot of people will be getting notices in the mail regarding this particular instance. Sometimes you get stuff in the mail from insurance companies and you're like, I'll skim it and next stop, the shredder. How important is it for folks to read all of that information if they get one of those letters?
That's our messaging point. Very important. And we say reach out to, whether it's us or any other insurance agent. Costs the same whether you go with somebody or do it on your own. And it's quite confusing with potentially documents to upload and other things that an agent will be able to help with. But it's a big deal, because if you don't follow through with it, you're not going to have insurance in March. If you figure that out in March when you go to the doctor, the soonest we can sign you up is for April. So it's a big deal.
So is March 1st a deadline for folks to transition now?
I would say it is. Yeah. I mean, we would have to sign you up by the end of the month, which isn't obviously too far away. We haven't seen a ton of the letters yet. So and we don't know exactly how the state's going through, if it's everybody's booted off at once, or if they're going, case by case, person by person. So it's more of an alert to pay attention to your mail and give us a call, or another agent a call if you get that letter and you're losing coverage.
Can you make contact with an agent prior to receiving this letter?
Yeah, that's a good idea too. You absolutely can. Kind of can go through the options and at least have your game plan in place for when the letter comes.
Anything else we need to know regarding this change with the dropping of the emergency declaration last week?
No, this is kind of gets a little confusing, but there is a year-round open enrollment for folks that fall under a certain category. It's 150% of the poverty line. So again, if there's, that's a new rule or nuance with the program. So if you've got somebody out there that's self-employed going without insurance and maybe their income is a little bit lower, they can still buy it now without a deadline.
Is that for family and for individual?
Yes.
All right, Hank, we appreciate the great information you always provide regarding health insurance. And anytime there's a health insurance question, you're our guy, and you provide great information. A, always good catching up with you. B, thanks for the information. C, you're welcome anytime. I appreciate the time this morning.
And D, I went side ditch this morning, so if you see drops of sweat, I apologize to the viewing audience, but I feel like I recovered well with towel and hydration.
Always a good advice from an insurance agent. Towel yourself off, hydrate, everything like that. And if you got any questions regarding health insurance, contact Brian at Group Benefit Partners or many other qualified agents throughout our area. Brian Huinker with Group Benefit Partners joining us this morning. Having our monthly conversation with Waukon City Manager Gary Boden. The City Council met earlier this week, and a couple of topics of discussion, Gary, were related to the fire which occurred on Alameda Street on Sunday night, February 13th. Unfortunately, a couple of businesses were destroyed in that fire. As you look at where that block is right now and how that block tries to recover, what's going to be the city's role in getting things recovered and back to normal?
Well, to be honest with you, right now, the process of starting the recovery is kind of stalled because there is an investigation being done, coordinated by the state fire marshal, as to determine the cause of the fire. And given the weather, I think that site will probably be in suspension, in other words, untouched for probably 4 to 6 weeks. After that, it would be incumbent upon the property owner to clear the property. From there, the city will just try to provide any kind of economic development assistance within reason to try and get that area reestablished. Realistically, we do not have a plan for this right now. And quite frankly, these are the kinds of redevelopment things that we normally don't anticipate.
And really 10 days after such an event like this, you really haven't had time to even think about formulating a plan, to be fair, correct?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this is going to be incumbent upon the property owner. We don't know what the plans are there. Purportedly, there was a sale of this property pending prior to the incident. So there's a lot of moving parts here that I think is going to take some time to sort out.
And related to the fire, I know it had an effect on the city's water system for a short time after that. What's being done to make sure the city's water system doesn't get a maybe vast interruption like it did after this fire, or have you been able to really determine the cause of why that happened yet?
Well, we certainly did determine the cause. It was due to the fact of significant usage of water. Normally, the city uses about 1/3 million gallons a day. That's citywide. This fire, in and of itself, used 1 million gallons to put it out, which taxed the pumping system from our north tower. As a result, we had to make some changeovers, move to some manual operations to get the pumping going. Manual by the idea of the electronics and the switching on and off of the pumps. But as a result of the fire, we had the north tower drained down. And because of that, there was no positive pressure through the water system itself. And as a result, that was an environment for which bacteria could actually develop. So we induced chlorine into the system in addition to what we normally would have done. And disinfected the system, had the water samples taken and tested, and received the go-ahead from the testing lab the following day was during that period of time we had a boil order in place. So the whole situation here was based upon the fact that we were taking safeguards to making sure that the water system did provide sanitary water.
And was there anything you could have done to prevent this, other knowing the fact that this major of a fire was going to take that much water to put out?
What happened was that we had some pumps that were aged, and one portion of the motor of one of the pumps effectively burnt out. So we had to go to manual switching, and as a result, we replaced that motor. It cost us about $4,500, but it did burn out on us, and it was done during a period of time where actually the fire had pretty much been taken care of. The main pumper from Decorah had already departed. So it's one of those things that we did not have the signaling device that normally would send that information to us as saying that the tower was low, did not perform because of the stress that was put on the system to begin with. So we fixed it and we're up and going.
And another issue you discussed, I know this is probably one of those regular things that city government looks at from time to time, discussion and direction on a employee policy handbook. Is how often does a city kind of review its handbooks related to stuff like this?
This is the first comprehensive one the city of Waukon has ever had. Yeah. That's why it's taken a little bit more time, and the city council gave input at the last meeting for effectively the final draft of this policy. We had some questions to ask them, and we spent, I guess, about 20 minutes on the process to review it and to get final input. From that process, we will go to a publication of the manual and then present it to all the employees for their use.
And related to this handbook, how much of it is going to be overall standards for all city employees? How much of it will be affected by which department they work for?
It will be for all city employees, although the police department has a similar manual, a lot more related to procedural activity. And of course, policing is a lot different type of structure given the legal ramifications of performing that duty. But other than that, this book generally is something that all employees will be guided by.
And a public hearing was held on the zoning classification for the Platson addition. From what I understand, there was just another kind of plat that was created when this thing was divided. Is that fair to say?
Another lot was developed. Another lot, mainly because they are expecting to sell that lot. They have an interested party right now that appears to wanting to buy it and develop a commercial establishment on it.
Nothing wrong with more business activity and more commercial activity, I'd imagine, right?
No, it doesn't seem to be. And quite frankly, Mr. Platson's very happy with the interest being expressed in his property that has developability for commercial uses. I think that this one lot is just a portent of things to come for other commercial development out there.
And as you look into the next couple of weeks, I believe you got your budget public hearing coming up in the not too distant future, correct?
Yeah, and quite frankly, that's probably rather pro forma because the council has tentatively approved the budget. It's being published in the newspaper and according to state statute, and as a result, we will have a public hearing on the budget. The council will have an opportunity, if necessary, to make any final adjustments to the budget based upon the input that has been would be received from the public hearing. But for all intents and purposes, the council's decision making right now has rested, and what's left is for the public to make some other final comment about the budget.
From a procedural standpoint, what was the reason that you needed to give a tentative approval and then a full approval.
Well, for us to publish the budget, we actually have to prepare it.
Okay.
And that has to take place before we publish. So the council had to make its decisions. You see this with governments throughout Iowa right now. They're all doing the same thing, effectively establishing their budgets, publishing them, and then giving the public an opportunity to have input into that decision making. Quite frankly, because our meetings are public to begin with, there was opportunity during that period of time. But the procedural process generally starts in December when staff gets together and puts together their proposals to be presented through to me, the city manager. And then we have to establish a separate process to establish the property tax levy, which also requires a public hearing. And we did that in February. And it's from that level of property taxation that we finally determine both the inputs and the outputs of the budget, the revenues and the expenditures. So this process has been ongoing since December. It's been in public hearing both in February and now coming up in March. We have to have the budget submitted to the state by the 31st of March. That's state statute.
Anything else you want to pass on regarding what folks in the city of Waukon need to know at this time? As long as you got the forum, is there anything else you want to pass on?
Well, I think one thing that's not been discussed too much, but is in the offing is the fact that we're going to have more fiber optic cable placed in the city this year. It's going to come through Alameda County, Alameda Clayton REC, Regional Electric. And what they do is they'll bury cable that will provide high-speed internet access and other communication opportunities. The lines that are being buried this year, the project is scheduled to start later in the year, assuming that there is the equipment available. But it will come into the downtown area, parallel both North First Avenue and South First Avenue into the city. And then we'll go out Rossville Road, down Spring Street, out Rossville Road. It'll come over to City Hall and the hospital, and ultimately hook up with cable that has been already established from fiber optic over the 11th and 2nd Streets Southwest corridor, and actually string itself through the new Plattston subdivision. This is a big deal because what will happen is that will be the second of 4 phases, apparently, that Alameda Clayton REC is looking to undertake. They will then string cable on the north side, and then following that on the south side in 2 successive years to get the city truly hooked up to high-speed fiber optic cable. It's the newer technology, and a technology that's welcomed by many.
And I know if there's one thing basically all levels of government agree on, including state government, fiber optic is key to especially rural economic development. Are there some maybe state funds that Alameda Clayton Rural Electric or the city can look into for these projects?
We have I should say not we, but the city has joined the effort from Alameda Clayton to get grants in the past. The one that set things up to begin with on the far west side of this town was due to a partial funding through grants. There is plenty of grant money out there, but the decision making on how that money is being dispersed is changed dramatically. And now it appears that a lot of that grant money is going to be highly competitive, not just with rural folks, but with people in urbanized areas. There is a lot of money out there, and I know that Alameda Clayton will continue to try and gather some of that grant money, but it is nowhere near the certainty that it used to be of getting it extended to us.
Gary, we appreciate your time as always, chatting with us about all things going on in the city of Waukon. We look forward to our meeting next month. Thanks for the time as always.
All right, thank you.
Gary Boden, City Manager for the City of Waukon. Time now for our monthly conversation with Decorah City Manager Travis Goedken, and quite a few things to discuss from Monday night's council meeting, Travis. First things first, let's talk about the council hiring legal representation to assist the city in its conversations with Alliant Energy. I know the Iowa Utilities Board has recommended an informal meeting between the city and Alliant regarding some information the city would like to receive from Alliant as they move forward to discuss the energy future in this town. What went down? What was the reason the city council made the decision it did Monday night?
Yeah, so IUB, Darren, as you know, submitted they had a thought. Instead of coming back with a resolution for the city's complaint on the data information, to have the two parties sit down and discuss. And Alliant has declined to participate in that interview. So the next steps forward are kind of up in the air. And that's one of the reasons for the city seeking legal help with this. Myself and John, we had a little bit of a conversation around John Anderson, the city attorney. The MEU task force had a couple of possible legal counsel in their mind, did have John vet them, and one of the things that we considered was their background and what the city's outcome is on this data request. So ultimately it comes down to just helping us navigate this process to get that information.
Why was outside legal counsel? Why couldn't the city attorney represent the city in these legal matters moving forward?
So the IUB is how do I put this right, Darren? Well, let's just say it's been some surprises along the way, along with the we have 30 days to give you a response, but that 30 days doesn't start until we tell you we're ready to give you a response. That was a bit of a surprise. Well, also even this informal meeting that was proposed last week, a bit of a surprise. And so the IUB and the section of state code surrounding it is pretty specialized legal counsel. It'd be no different than if a private business were needing HR help, has a personnel matter. You don't go and hire a real estate attorney. You don't hire a tax attorney. You hire somebody that specializes in HR law. Same concept here. City attorney John is great when it comes to ordinances and municipal matters. We'll call them routine municipal matters. This is going to be pretty specialized.
And moving forward, are you just kind of in a wait and see mode right now to see what the next steps would be on this specific front?
So that is on my to-do list, is to reach out to legal counsel that council did authorize to hire and get their thoughts, because I'm not going to be the expert in this matter either. I think it's a wait and see until IUB issues a resolution, but that legal counsel might tell me otherwise, that the city needs to respond to the decline of Alliant to participate. So that's on the to-do list.
Also related to energy, the city received a PowerPoint presentation regarding a purchase power agreement from John Nielsen at Perry Novak Electric. Break that thing down for us, because this thing has multi-layers to it. The council decided to move forward with it. Tell us what this action all entails.
Sure. Generally speaking, a power purchase agreement is just that. It is the city agreeing to buy solar generated by an array put in place by an investor. So there's no initial upfront capital from the city. We are just agreeing to buy our energy from them, as opposed to buying it off the grid from Alliant. The way these work is that the city provides a lease to the investor to go ahead and install their array on our land, our building, and then we agree to buy the power from them at a reduced rate than what we would typically buy power from Alliant. The way they're able to do this, since it's a private entity putting up the solar array as opposed to the city, they're able to take advantage of tax credits, solar tax credits, where the city would not be able to. So it's a bit of a cost savings on our end. It does provide some advantages to a possible investor.
And moving forward to another matter, the rural fire contract was discussed with the rural fire trustees, first with Public Safety Committee last night, then with the entire council. What ended up happening on that front?
Yeah, so after a decent amount of deliberation and explanation between differences of fiscal years and calendar years, council and fire trustees agreed to basically a 3-year contract. Ironically enough, one for fiscal 22, which is the year we're currently in. And so we needed to get that wrapped up.
And related to what, is there any major changes in the contract itself? Is it strictly financial? What did it all end up?
Yeah, the amendments are strictly financial. It's just the payment. So the city of Decorah will receive $40,000 for the fiscal 22, $44,000 for fiscal 23, and then we'll adjust by the CPI for 24.
I know this was touched on in the Public Safety Committee a little bit. There has been discussions on the future of the fire station itself. Do you renovate it at its current location? Do you look for another location in the community? And if you renovate it at its current location, what effect will that have on city administrative officers, park rec, etc.? I know nothing is set in stone at this time, but where are those discussions at right now?
Yeah, so that was the first time of the Public Safety Committee having that conversation. Brunton Architects that the city has entered into a contract for site selection did review 3 locations throughout town that were proposed and did recommend the existing site as the future project location. But with that do come some challenges that if we remodel the existing, you are displacing administrative offices, parks and recs. You do have to find locations for them, as well as you do not achieve some of the other issues with the existing building. We have some foundation issues that, ironically, if you drive by the fire station with the bay doors open, you can see the 2 engines actually lean towards each other because of the settling in the bay floor. So we've got to address some foundation issues. There are some moisture issues with the exterior of the building as well, but it doesn't truly address a lot of the spatial needs if we were looking at just remodeling. And remodeling costs are substantially higher on a square footage basis than even demolition and starting over. So if that is the case, I mean, there's so many ifs about this, that if this is the current location, if it's a remodel, you're displacing administrative staff or administrative offices, parks and rec. You need to find new locations for them, as well as those construction costs now. So at this point, we're coming back later for future discussions after council had a chance to, what's the word I want to use here, Darren? They want to
deliberate, to consider.
Yeah, let it mull over. They want to mull over it.
And is there any specific timeline on this, or is this something that is going to be a major enough thing that you better take the time to do it right?
Oh, absolutely. This is a long-term investment for the community. And so we're not looking to rush anything on this, but I would say probably a month out. Hopefully staff were in a position to be able to present some more information to council with our considerations with Brunton. Because one of the things they wanted to talk about, the council wanted to hear were other options as well. So if it is existing site, and instead of a demo new construction and address everyone's spatial needs, not displacing those offices, but build on the current site for those offices. What are those other options? Where can we go? What do those costs look like? And so I'm hopeful that staff can have something put together in a month or so.
Conversation was held regarding compensation for city council members as well as the mayor, and any changes that would be put forward would take effect after the next election. So it isn't like any elected official is voting for a raise for themselves. I know this wasn't finalized last night, but what were some of the options that the council is considering?
Correct, Darren. Nothing was determined last night, but general consensus seemed to be, so currently council members are paid $50 per meeting. And if you use our normal schedule, that's $1,200, $1,200 a year. Right now, their general consensus was not to include committee meetings because we still have a committee format. So that does include additional meetings for those council members. We also hold work sessions, which are, we'll call them council meeting light. They can't have any, it's discussion, but no action can be taken during them. So those are all uncompensated, and obviously they put in time and preparations for the meetings and different contacts with the residents here in Decorah. So general consensus was to include work sessions, council meetings, and committees of the whole, the personnel committee. And we won't address those until there are discussions on compensation of the administrative staff, non-union covered positions as well. And that'll be upcoming here in the next month or so as well.
Did you resolve anything regarding the divide of hotel motel tax revenue on Monday night?
Yeah. Again, unfortunately, no action could formally be taken because it was listed on the agenda as a discussion item, but we need to draft and prepare 2080 agreements for that distribution. And so we're going to see a very similar breakdown of hotel motel tax to Decorah Jobs, to the Hotel Steering Committee, and then Parks and Rec as well. Very similar distributions. Slight change to it, as in years past. Some of the council members expressed interest in having retaining some of those funds, make it those project specific, so that Decorah Jobs or the Hotel Steering Committee or Parks and Rec or another project for that matter were to come to the council and say, we've got this great opportunity, maybe it's a grant match, however, we need some additional funding. Council has this reserve account for potential opportunities. So basically any hotel motel tax revenues over 500,000 will be set aside for council discretion.
And as we talk, we're dealing with winter weather once again. Good opportunity to remind folks about the snow emergency regulations. I'll give you this chance once again. It probably won't be our last conversation on the subject.
You're right, Darren. Unfortunately, probably not the last, but here we go again. So if it is an even day, so as we're taping this, it is the 22nd. That's an even day. We park on the even address side of the street. On an odd day, tomorrow, when I believe this will air, the 23rd, that's an odd day. We're not going to be under a snow emergency at the time, but you would park on the odd addressed side of the street. We're given some leeway around, starting about 8:00 p.m. Go ahead and get that vehicle moved to the other side so it's ready for the morning. So that's really what we're trying to accomplish, is to make sure that in the mornings, especially when those plows are going out, trying to get everyone a safe path to work, make sure those cars are all on that same side of the street.
All right. Anything else you want to pass on? Anything else we didn't cover during our conversation?
No, Darren, I think we did a pretty good job. We hit on a lot of the major topics last night, and yeah, we'll have some future discussions as well, I'm sure.
All right, Travis, we appreciate you joining us as usual. Thanks for taking the time. We look forward to our conversation next month.
Sounds good. Thank you, Darren.
Travis Goedken, Decorah City Manager. On the program, we give them a thank you, and we thank Kathy Schwartzhoff from Helping Services for Youth and Family, mentoring Bowl-a-thon coming up next month on March 19th at Skyline Lanes in Decorah. Also want to thank Brian Huinker, Group Benefit Partners in Decorah, about the changes in health insurance related to the COVID-19 emergency proclamation being ended last week by Governor Reynolds. Waukon City Manager Gary Boden, we thank him for an update on all things in the city of Waukon. And Decorah City Manager Travis Goedken, we thank him for his monthly update as well. Don't forget, we put these shows out on YouTube each and every week. And you can basically go to YouTube, go to /24 Our Town program. You can search it that way. We also link them up on all of the LA Communications Facebook pages, Hawk Rock, KVIK, Bluff Country 103.5, KNEI, and of course the station you're listening to right now, 94.9 and 99.1 The River. You can get them that way. So we realize you might not always be able to be at the radio at 9 o'clock on a Thursday morning, but we want to get the information and content out to you on your terms, and that's why we put these shows up on YouTube, so you can actually see the people that we are talking to on a week in and week out basis. So our thanks to our guests, our thanks to our sponsor, Decorah Bank and Trust, and most importantly, we thank you for tuning in, for logging on, or for watching Our Town on 94.9 and 99.1 The River.